Hey Insiders, we've got a special guest joining us today. His name is Preston Smiles. Preston Smiles is an author, a personal freedom coach, and a lifestyle entrepreneur who supports people in understanding and embracing their fears so they can live the life of their dreams. His mission is to empower, inspire, and ignite a movement of radical growth through creative content, acts of love, and living boldly. I just want to say before I start and introduce you, Preston, you're not my regular sort of guest. You know, here at Success Insider, we do get guests, as you described, you know, on the About section of your website, who flash their Lamborghinis and all their wealth. But the reason why I decided to bring you on, Preston, is the fact that you've balanced, which a lot of entrepreneurs find really hard to balance, success with fulfillment. And so, Preston, I can't wait for this one. Thank you so much for being on today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, dude. I'm pretty pumped to be here.
Definitely. Before I start, I have to ask you about that. What is that that pattern interrupt thing you do?
So, it's funny. It's different now, but when I was a kid, I used to be in a gang, and I was just like a sort of class clown. I got kicked out of a bunch of schools. And, when you're like 15, 13, 14, 15, 16, one of the, when you're a kid like I was, the main thing that you wanted to do was be out of class. So all of my friends and I would ask to use the bathroom and then just never come back, or we would just slide out of the back of the classroom when the teacher had their back turned after they took roll. And then the only way we could find each other is through that sound. So let's just say somebody's hiding behind the building. They go, oh, oh, and I'd know where to go in order to find them. So it was like a call for my friends and I to find each other when we were doing ridiculously crazy stuff.
Wow. So you was even running like a movement back then.
I was a leader, man. I was definitely a leader. It was a matter of where I was using that energy and leading people to,
Okay, great. I think that's a great point to start. Could you take us back, to your story? How have you really got to where you are today? Because I don't assume you've always been, about this loving guy, or maybe you have. I don't know. Just let us know on your story and your, how you really got to where you are.
For sure, man. For sure. So yeah, I've always been super loving, for sure. And then also, whenever, so life is like a scale, like if people who are attracting the one and looking for their one, if you find somebody who's really kind, on the other side of kindness is going to be, somebody who's the opposite of that. And anytime you get one, you also come with the other. The light and the shadow come together. It's all one coin. And so while I was very loving to my friends and my family, I was also in a gang. And so a part of that was like, being I would rob and steal things from liquor stores and bust windows and spray paint and do really not so great things that I can look back on now. I'm grateful that I did them, but in hindsight is 2020. So my story, I grew up in Los Angeles, California, in a little small town called Harbor City, and it was like this Dennis the Menace neighborhood. I was born in Compton, which a lot of people know about because of the NWA movie, and it's a predominantly African-American community that has gangs in it, but also has a beautiful neighborhood and beautiful people in it. But I was born in Compton. My family got scared and moved me, kind of like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Did you watch that show when you were a kid?
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, so my family decided to move my sister and I to this sort of safe Dennis the Menace neighborhood that was on the come up called Harbor City. And so we moved there, and this is during a time where kids still played outside, and I've always been like a super dude in the sense where like I played every sport, and I was super good at everything, and I had, I was a very masculine little boy. I wanted to destroy things and throw rocks and stuff like that. And I believe I was 9 years old when they came and got me and took me out of the regular class with 30 children and took me and placed me in a special education class. And they had been testing me up to that point, and I didn't really understand it because I was a kid, but there was that day when they put me in that class, my 9-year-old consciousness made up a story that I was the dumb kid. that I was the stupid one because they put me in a class with 4 mentally ill children. And so back then they didn't really understand that the standardized testing and the way that people tested didn't mean that they were dummies or not genius, you know? And so they just placed me with the other kids that they believed weren't performing up to par. Now, in hindsight, years and years later, I found out that I just have dyslexia and I don't learn the same way everybody else does. And I actually am a genius, which we all are when we own it. And so from there, this idea of being the dumb kid, I started to overcompensate, and I would befriend the nerds and bully the bullies in order to sort of feel accepted. And you know, I was that kid, like I said, that had everything. I had all the freshest Jordans, and you know, I was really good at sports, so nobody would make fun of me. Nobody would actually call me stupid, but when recess ended, everybody would go to a regular class, and I would go to the class that, you know, kids were drooling out of their mouths. And as you can see, I'm not mentally ill. I am pretty crazy, but I'm not that crazy. And so, you know, I'm going to fast forward. By 15 years old, I was in a gang, and it was a clique called NFCG, which I can't curse on the show, right?
You can, by all means.
Well, the clique I was in, NFCG, was called Notorious Fucking Criminal Gang, and we were in some ways a bunch of little wannabes, but it got real. Like some of my friends right now, to this day, still hooked on heroin, still running around the same neighborhood that I grew up in, gangbanging. And at 15 years old, one of my buddies called me, who was on the basketball team, who was also kind of towing the line between good student basketball player and crazy mofo. He called me to come hang out and hop in the blue Astro van with Rudy and Emmanuel and this whole crew of kids that I was hanging with. That we would go and do these things called a run out, where you go into a liquor store, you grab all the alcohol, and then you just run out as fast as possible. And so this particular night, my buddy called me, and something in me was a no. It was like immediately I understood intuition. And I was like, no, I'm gonna chill tonight. He was like, oh, come on, man, you got to come out, don't be a bitch. And I was like, no, I'm gonna chill. He's like, all right, Pete, we'll talk tomorrow. And Scott was my best friend. We talked every day. I was in the same, we would fight over front seat. You guys do that in London? Like you say shotgun, and then you try to get in the front? Okay, yes, Scott and I were like shotgun kings. Like, shotgun, you know, and like we had all these rules to it. And so this particular night I said no. And a few hours later, every single person in that blue Astro van that I was in the night before and the night before and the night before was shot. And Scott was shot in the head and died on the scene immediately. And, you know, I was 15. I didn't really understand that. I didn't know how to process it. And I remember we went to his mom's house the next day. And as we pulled up, my mom had a white Camry, and I was in the back seat. And as we pulled up, the windows were down. And we were like a block away, and I could hear his mother screaming, my baby, they took my baby. And I didn't even know how to process that. It just like messed me up. And so I asked my dad, could I move? Once again, I said, I got to get out of here. Something has to change. I don't want to die, you know? And he said, yeah, I have a high school sweetheart in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Her name is Shirley Russell, and you can go live with her. And so a few weeks later, I got off a plane. There was a sign with my name on it. This was going to be the person I was going to live with. And she lived in a county, and I'm going to end this story quickly. She lived in this place called North Allegheny County, which was one of the richest counties and richest high schools in America. And so I got there, and it literally was like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It was like BMWs, Mercedes. I was the only black male in the entire school. So I was like this cool alien that everybody wanted to hang out with and like take to the parties and stuff like that. And I remember one night we were riding in this dude named Brad's BMW, and they had a clique out there called Wexford Mafia. And so I was a part of Wexford Mafia, and we were riding in this kid's BMW. And I remember as they were smoking weed and drinking, that the kids at my former school were doing the same things but getting two different results. So the kids at North Allegheny High were drinking, smoking, listening to Outkast, Tupac, and Biggie. The kids at my other school were drinking, smoking, listening to Outkast, Tupac, and Biggie, but they were getting two different results based on the environment and the expectation that was set up for them. And so I had this realization, at 15 and a half years old, that there's no difference, that we're all the same, that underneath all of our stories about each other, gay, straight, white, black, Christian, Muslim, that underneath all of that is our truth, which is love. And so for me, at that moment, I had this huge paradigm shift where I was like, oh, we've all been lied to. There's so much more to life than how we've been taught to live. And so that sort of opened the space up. I ended up going to college. I got out of college. I got a master's degree. I got out of that. I got super stressed out trying to be an actor and a model, and I had a heart condition come up. That forced me to not die again, and I started juicing. The Secret came out. Somebody gave me a book, and then boom, explosion. And here I am now.
Boom, explosion. Tell me more about that. What happened in that moment?
Yes. So, essentially, I had a heart condition come up because I was stressed out, and I was a super regular American eating McDonald's, drinking beer, smoking weed, and just like eating junk food and crap for 25 years. I literally didn't eat anything other than chicken, steak, and cheesy things for 25 years. Wow. Jack in the Box, Burger King, McDonald's. And when I was sitting in his cardiologist's office and I had this conversation with him, he asked me these two questions. He said, what are your stress levels like? And I was like, I don't know what a stress level is. Tell me what you're talking about. And I explained my life, and he was like, you're really stressed out. And he was like, what is your diet like? And I was like, well, I eat food. And he was like, what's food? And I told him, and he was like, that's not food. And I was like, what are you talking about? It is food. It's on the commercials. And that led me, I got so upset. I left there. He gave me some pills that I was supposed to take for the rest of my life, which I haven't taken those pills in 10 years. And I'm healthier than I've ever been. So, testament to the mind and what the heart can do when it's clear about who and what it is. And so I went home that day and I was pissed off, but I made a decision. And I decided that I wouldn't be taking pills for the rest of my life at 25, and that if I had been lied to about food, that there probably was a lot of other things I had been lied to about. And so I went into the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, and I became a very angry vegan, a very angry, personal development person, where I was blaming everything outside of me. You see, there are stages to consciousness. Most of the planet operates from to-me consciousness, which is they are at the effective. This happened to me. The government is unfair, and that's happening to me. And then entrepreneurs move into this by-me consciousness, where they're like, I create everything. I can create money. I can create this. And then those who are fortunate enough to understand that there's something bigger than than the money and the by-me, they move into through-me. And that through-me consciousness is, let me be used. Let me be a vessel for good, for hope, for love, for peace. And then those who are really on it move into as-me consciousness, which is the Christ consciousness. This is what the Buddha and certain people have moved into, that sort of embodiment of love, this embodiment of that which I perceive to be bad and that which I perceive to be good are both me, and that there is nothing outside of the self. And so I say all that to say that I went through all of these stages over and over and over again. And what happened was people in the industry, I was acting and modeling at that time, and I was on Entourage and a bunch of commercials and all this stuff. And a bunch of people in the industry would say, that Preston dude, he's like enlightened now. And they would come to me and they would ask me questions. And so one day I got really sort of like curious about how I could scale it. And I said, what would it look like because everybody asks the same questions. We're all dealing with the same stuff. I don't care what color you are, what ethnicity, what racial background, any of that stuff. We're all dealing with the same stuff. And so I said, what would it look like if I created something called Questions with Preston and put it on YouTube? And I just answered the same questions that people are dealing with. And so when people come to me, they can just go to this YouTube channel and I can keep being an actor and a model. I wasn't looking to do what I'm doing now, even though that was on my heart. And so, long story short, a few years later, I was operating more and more from that through me consciousness. Now, take in mind that we all sort of wane between these. It's not that I don't move into victim consciousness. It's not that I don't, my ego mind or the wounded self doesn't take over sometimes. But for the most part, my habits and my patterns have me operating from a by me or through me consciousness. And a lot of times, I experience the as me consciousness. And so out of that, the patterns and the habits, I kept experiencing myself as a vessel for something bigger than me. And, when you honor your gifts and your talents and the things that are handwritten on your soul, the universe, God, whatever you'd like to call it, makes room for you. And so that's what I'm experiencing now. I don't want to go too far because I'm a grown-ass man. I've lived a lot of years and a lot of lives. And so we could be talking about my story for 10 hours at this point. But those are sort of the cliff notes. And I'm experiencing that right now. And things just keep leveling up because I know there's something bigger than me. I know that through me conversation is the truth of my being. I know that there's only love here. And that the only thing that matters at the end of the day is love. And so the janitor gets buried next to, the millionaire. And so okay, we come into this world with nothing and we leave this world with no thing. And what matters is what we do in between. And so many entrepreneurs especially get caught up in the mountaintop. They get caught up in the destination and not experiencing the magic and the beauty of the journey of what it means to be human, who you become on the way to the mountaintop, and understanding that the moment you sit on that mountaintop, you go, wow, this is awesome, and you celebrate it. Oh, made 100,000. Oh, made 200,000. Oh, made this. Oh, I did this. I launched this. Awesome. The moment that happens, you celebrate it, and then what happens next? New desire. Oh, I made one. Let's make two. Oh, I made three. Let's make four. And so it's the journey that I've come to understand is where the juice, where the magic is. And so that's what I've dedicated my life to, is helping people, and especially entrepreneurs, find personal freedom, personal power. Feel me?
Definitely. So what do you believe entrepreneurs can do to really find this personal freedom, as it's such a common trait nowadays? Because nowadays you jump on Instagram, people are flashing their cars, the women, you name it.
Yep.
What have you found as the best strategy for really reaching personal freedom?
That's one. Breathing. We live in this fast-paced, high-tech, low-touch society right now, where everything is just go, 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 go. And anybody who's an entrepreneur, especially because I get you, I feel you. I'm busier than I've ever been. We were just talking about that before we hit record. The best thing you could do for yourself is to breathe, is to create more oxygen in the breath, because the thing that separates those who are in it for the long run and those who are just chasing these short-term gains, like one of the things that is in some ways a pet peeve, but it's a beautiful thing that I get to even reflect in myself, is watching these people follow these, how do I want to say this, these entrepreneurs that are saying, you gotta work, hustle, hustle, hustle. Never stop breathing. You just go for it. You're working 80 hours a day. You hustle, hustle, hustle. And that is a trap and some bullshit. And so that is, in my opinion, that's the tortoise and the hare, Everybody's following the hare right now, not understanding the tortoise. That's the one. Because the tortoise understands that it's the journey. Everybody's following the hare, and the hare is going to lead everybody off a fucking cliff. And so, as an entrepreneur, especially, because you can keep yourself busy as hell, making sure that you take time to breathe, take time to have fun. Number 2, play. I schedule and play every single day. I told you today I have 15 calls. Tomorrow I have 30 calls to be on. Now, this will probably make me quite a bit of money, and it's a part of this journey as well, and it's also in service. But I guarantee you, Tim, that I will play in between those calls. I will schedule it. I always schedule it in. I will go sit outside in nature. I'll go breathe. I'll go skateboard. I'll go bike. I'll go surf. I'll do whatever the hell I have to do in order to make sure I keep my sanity and remember what this whole thing is about. You feel me? So those are two right there.
Right, yeah. I just want to mention, going back to the story, I can relate to you because a lot of insiders know, I went through gang crime myself and a lot of drug abuse, drug dealing. I'm definitely familiar with that. And through that journey, I remember discovering spirituality for the first time, the power of now. And I remember the moment I discovered that, I took it to the extreme as I've always done in my life, and I did nothing that year. So what I truly admire is when I stumble across these entrepreneurs who've really managed to balance entrepreneurship with spirituality. Because at the end of the day, you've got a thriving business by the sound of things, but you're not chasing something.
Yeah.
So how do you really balance spirituality with entrepreneurship? Or what's your take on that?
For me, it's an understanding that they can't be separate, and that just because we're not bringing awareness, our intention and attention to it doesn't mean that it's not here and not there. And what happens is, I've had people die in my arms. And whenever you have the gift of seeing somebody take their last breath, you remember that this shit doesn't matter. That the only thing that matters is that next breath. And so the thing that I would remind entrepreneurs, and I remind myself all the time, is my immortality. Like I'm only here for a finite amount of breaths. And so when people get scared, or they get, they get sick, or a parent gets sick, or a friend gets sick, or something happens, then we go, oh God, whatever's out there, please save my mom, save my friend. Right? Then we want to lean into spirituality. And, just like anything, if you make it a habit to tap in, and to remember that there's something bigger than all of us, there's something bigger than our myopic, brains and ways of being. There's so much more. Science doesn't even know what's in the ocean, let alone what God is, And so I just would continue to remind people that you're not here forever. And when it's said and done, and if you've ever read books or heard confessions of the dying, they always come back to, I wish I would have loved more. I wish I would have laughed more. I wish I would have made more mistakes. I wish I would have risked more. I wish I would have slowed down and been present with my friends and my family and those who I truly care about. Because we, as entrepreneurs, we get caught up in the conversation of, okay, when I get this done, then when I, launch this product or this book, then I'll spend more time with my wife. Then I'll spend more time with my boyfriend. Then I'll spend more time with my girlfriend. And what tends to happen is you get there, and then there's a new there to get to, and you never get to the thing that's most important until it's too late sometimes, and they leave your ass, and then you're sitting there like, okay, God, please just bring me enough, or whatever. So don't get caught up.
Okay, sure. What do you believe has been your greatest life lesson so far then?
Greatest life lesson. I think I've been speaking about this whole time. It's this understanding that love is really all there is and what this whole thing is about. And so sometimes when I speak on stages, I say that, I'm a messenger of love, sent here to remind people of the truth of their being, that love is all there is. And that we all have the same message wrapped up in different little packaging. To me, Tim, your message is love. You're reminding entrepreneurs to love the journey, to love themselves, to love the process. But love is still at the base of that whole thing. So, whenever I lose track of that North Star or lose track of what's true for me, my North Star is returning back to love, asking powerful questions. That's been a game changer for me. You ask a powerful question, the only thing that can come back is a powerful answer. So when I'm experiencing overwhelm or experiencing anxiety, I ask myself, what good is here that I presently cannot see? I ask myself, how would I like to respond to this instead of react? Because most of us are reaction. Stuff's happening, emails, phone calls, friends, family. Oh, that thing you never did, right? That idea you never took care of, and then we're in reaction. Oh, I got you, I got you. And we rarely take time to just, how would I like to respond to this? And then move from there.
Great. I take it this is, you sound like somebody who's very present with people, and I can definitely feel that. What sort of ritual have you got in place? Because this is, I believe, you can't, you can't just be like this unless you've got some sort of ritual in place.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you have in place to really foster this amazing mindset of yours?
Curiosity is one of my favorite words. I usually choose a word for the year, like the overarching one. Like a couple years ago, it was risk. Like risk was going to just be in my game all day, every day. But curiosity is now my new word. That's the thing that supports me so much. And you have to understand, we all have to understand this. We are all in the people business. Even if you sit behind a computer and never actually talk to people, you're still in the people business, because whoever's going to buy that product, whether it's another geeky nerd on the other side of the computer that's doing the same thing, it's still a person. And if you can get curious about people, and we buy from people who we like, we buy from products or that we align ourselves with. And so if you can get curious about people, about your family, like one of the things I have my coaching clients do all the time is like interview your mom, interview your dad, ask your mom, Mom, when was the happiest time of your life? And you can't name me, because parents will always say their kids. And then you'll say, or ask her, Mom, when was the lowest point of your life? And what was going on? And like, how did you get out of that? Like most of us don't know jack crap about our parents. We just know the parent thing. Or like asking your dad, like, yo, what was that like? Did you want me? Like, what was happening for you when you heard that I was coming? And like, what were the feelings that you experienced? Were you super proud? Like, were you running around telling everybody, I got a boy coming and his name's gonna be Tim and I'm pumped up about it? Like, what was that thing? And getting curious about your parents and your friends and your customers. People come to us for branding all the time. And one of the things I explain all the time and how I've grown my business is I'm not looking for new customers. My people bring me people. I take care of my people, and my people bring me more people. And I did the same thing. I owned a surf school before this because I knew I wasn't ready. But I needed to make money, and I needed the money to be in alignment with what I was up to. So I created a soul surf school called Smile Surf School. And what happened was other surf instructors and schools got mad at me because I was teaching people in one lesson what they were dragging out for like 7 because they wanted the money. But what started happening was I moved up to number 3 in Google because I was taking care of people. I wasn't trying to get them. I wasn't trying to see them as dollar signs. I had a price. They paid that price. I gave them everything I had. And because I gave them everything they had, they kept referring me and referring me and referring me until my surf school started surpassing these schools that had been around for 20, 30 years. And so I take that same model and I put it into personal development and self-help and entrepreneurship. I take care of my people. My employees, they know that the number one thing they better do or they're out is treat people like their grandmother. Talk to them like they're your grandmother. You know how soft and how open you are with your grandmother? Mm-hmm. I spoke to my grandmother the other day and I said, "How you doing, Granny?" He said, "Oh, I'm sitting here. Ain't nothing for me to do. I'm just sitting in this chair, and she's going off." I'm like, "Oh, okay, Granny. Well, and I'm very loving and careful with my grandmother. And if you can treat your customers like tribe, like family, game on."
Right. So a question that popped up is a question one of my clients came to me with once. It was regarding this. Is it regarding conflict resolution? Because with any business owner, you're faced with not just happy customers, but sometimes the angry ones. So what advice would you give to handling these angry customers in the manner you were suggesting?
Yes. So here's the other thing I'll say is, and some of this comes from my background, some of this comes from just who I innately be, but I'm also not afraid of conflict. And sometimes, if we're wrong or if we got it wrong, then we got it wrong and we apologize. And for instance, Tim, you and I we switched this call a few times, right? And when I wrote you, I said, dude, I sincerely apologize. My bad. Like, is there any way we can switch this to another day? You know, and I didn't make it about you, you know, or anything. And sometimes if I'm wrong, or if we got it off, or I missed the time, or something messed up, I'll just admit that. And I'll say, you know what? We messed up. But we appreciate your business, and we love you, and you know, we know that you're, and then we'll fill in the blank, because I'm constantly taking surveys and finding out what my customers are up to and like who they are. I know you're being with, you know, confidence, and let me rest assured that we will make sure that you know, you get on the other side of that, as long as you're willing to do the work. And we bring them back to their North Star. We bring them back to the reason they came to us in the first place, back to that vision. But if a customer is being a dick, I will let them know they're being a dick, and we don't need their business, because nobody will make or break me. I don't need anybody. If you look on my Facebook right now, you'll see I posted something that was a little quote unquote out of character to some people, but it pissed some people off. And it was like this video about this poet saying something about not voting for Donald Trump. And I posted it because he was a friend of mine, and he, you know, I wanted to share his stuff, and it was awesome. And I don't align with Donald Trump, and that's okay. And somebody hopped on and they were like, you know, I almost unfollowed you because I always come to your page because there's always so much inspiration, and I don't understand how you could put something like this, and this is terrible, and you're terrible. And they started saying all this stuff. And my response to that was, hey, and then I put the person's name. I said, you know what? It's okay for you to unfollow me. I still love you, and I still appreciate you, and I thank you for the time you have been here. If you don't align with what I share, that's totally fine. We don't have to agree. But I am not here for you. I share what's on my heart, not what's on yours. And so I'm not here to appease or please you, because if I was, then I would be a slave to you. So there's the door. And they wrote back, and a bunch of people clicked like, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, you know, like, and it wasn't about that. But like, the point is like, yo, I'm not a slave to you. Yes, I'm a servant. We are all servants. If you choose to call yourself an entrepreneur, you're a servant of the people. And the people don't get to run my life.
Wow. Do you always vibrate at this frequency?
More often than not, but yeah, sometimes I'm a dick, and sometimes I'm really low. But for the most part, I'd say out of 30 days, probably 28 of them I'm around here.
Okay, so for those 2 days, what do you do? Do you embrace it, or do you snap yourself out of it?
Embrace it. I go surfing. I go hang out. I go get in nature and just own it. Like, what's here for me? This is a teacher. You know, fear is a teacher. Sadness is a teacher. So, you know, the unconscious way of taking fear is lashing out and reacting and being angry at people. The other side of that, of fear, is like, okay, what is this here to teach me? What is this trying to point to? What am I afraid to let go of? Same thing with sadness. And so I become curious. I become a scientist for these things, and I embrace them, because feelings, emotions, are a part of life. And most of us are chasing good. We're trying to get high on good all the time. I gotta feel good all the time. And you're missing most of life if you're just chasing good. You know, that's an illusion. Like the profane and profound. I'm here for it all. The ego wants to know the whole thing. I mean, the soul wants to know the whole thing. The ego will try to keep you chasing good. The soul wants to know everything. It wants to understand. It wants to experience the fullness of life. And so why would I, reject that? I'm just like the ocean. I ebb and flow.
So even if you're angry, you just embrace it, you accept it,
I use it.
Yep. You use it. What do you mean?
So sometimes, sometimes I'll make a video or I write a post, and the anger energy is around. And instead of just lashing out at my wife or somebody like that, or whatever the case may be, which sometimes does happen, I'm not, a saint, I'll use the energy to speak about the other side of what I'm angry about. In the sense where, or even it doesn't even have to be about that. I'll just be amped. Have you ever just come out of the gym and you're just like, woo, like game on, right? Yeah. And then you go and you do something else, and that energy is still connected to it. So sometimes it's about the thing, sometimes it's not about the thing. I'll say, okay, time. I'll put a video camera up and I'm like, game on. And I'll say, you know what? I'm here to remind you of your greatness. That you only get to keep what you give away. And there's an energy that's flowing into the camera. And I'm just using what was over there. you know?
I honestly admire whenever I have somebody on this show and they're truly aligned with, I believe, their path, their truth.
Yeah.
And the questions I always get when I post this into the secret group, which is our Facebook group, is, you know, this guy or this woman has got it all. You know, they're super clear, but they're questioning their clarity. And there is about 30% of my audience who are young, who don't know what their life's about, and they really admire people like yourself. And what advice would you give to those people who, you know, haven't found who they are?
Yes. I would say sometimes you have to go all the way to New York. Let's just say you're in Texas. Sometimes you got to go to New York to get to LA. And so you can't be off purpose. You're always on purpose, even if you're not clear of it. Even if you see, there's something, I'll say this, and this is my philosophy. The universe is always listening to our innermost thoughts. And your higher self is always calling you forward. Now, sometimes the higher self, the higher Tim, the higher Preston is like, hey, Preston, turn left. Hey, don't take that business deal. Hey, and it's whispering. While the ego mind is like, yo, P, what up, Tim? What up, Tim? And it's like, it's super loud, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard to hear the higher self calling us forward because the ego mind is so damn loud, right? But one of the ways I support people in hearing the higher self call you forward and lead you down that path to New York so you can get to LA. I'm going to go on a side tangent. Have you ever dated somebody who you were pissed off at first when it ended and you're like, I just wasted my time. This is stupid. Oh, this is, all this stuff. And then 2 months later, 2 years later, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful I dated her or him because now that I'm in this new relationship, I have contrast. I have a different understanding of how to be with it based on the other one. So without the other one, I wouldn't know how to be in this one. And so I had to go to New York. I had to date Chrissy in order to meet Tammy and fall in love. I had to go through that shit about forgiveness with my parents over there so I could get to here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
You're always on purpose, even if it doesn't appear to be. Like the stuff you're going through right now, this uncertainty, you can either embrace it or you can be a victim to it. And you can suffer and you can, I want to know, I have to know. Or you can embrace the certainty and say, life is a journey and what's here for me today. And you know that your purpose, at least, is to breathe and to experience joy. And so if you just follow that, if you follow your bliss, as our man, the dude who wrote The Hero's Journey said, what's his name? Joseph Campbell. If you follow your bliss, you will inevitably run into that thing that's like, yes. And here's the thing, guys. Here's the kicker. Now, I'm 36 years old. Right? I'm closer to 40 than I am 30. That yes will change 1,000 times before you leave this planet. So you can think, I'm clear. Yes, I'm going to start a business selling ice cream and it's going to be the new Pinkberry or whatever it is, right? And like 5 years in, you're like, yes. And then the 6th year comes. You have a child or something happens or an accident happens and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm here to spread the message of the Dalai Lama or whatever the hell it is. You see what I'm saying? And so you'll have many purposes throughout this lifetime. Just enjoy and embrace the one that's here. Embrace the uncertainty. Embrace the journey of finding your way to that purpose. Because it's not about getting there. It's about who you become on the way there. That is where all the magic is.
Wow, said it beautifully. Bringing it back to that whole ego thing, I do agree that the ego is louder in a sense. And I think this social media world, it doesn't help either. Because like I said earlier, it does get people into, let's say, Forex because they see the Lamborghini with these Forex traders. And then they see some other guy preaching, this is the way forward, housing estate, right? Yeah. And this is all driven by ego.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to people so they can really tune in with their heart, let's say, instead of the mind which is just focused on wealth and so forth?
Yes. I would say this. Stop following those people. Just stop doing it. here's the deal. There's 8 billion people on this planet. And so 9 out of 10, there's an Instagram account or 100 that are still entrepreneurs making a bunch of money, serving the planet, but they're not doing it from the space of trying to sell you on something. I would remind you to question everything. What do they want me to think when they're showing me this Ferrari and this girl's ass? What are they trying to get me to follow and chase? And can I be bigger than that? You see, for me, when I had that hard stuff come up, I had a realization that I've been lied to, I've been bamboozled. And that if I want something, if that I want to experience the fullness of life, I would have to do, in some ways, the opposite of what the media and most of the planet was doing. And so if most of the people are following these dudes and doing it this way, you might want to like sort of sift through that and go like, interesting. Nothing wrong with money. Money is a fantastic tool. Nothing wrong with abundance. Absolutely not. But like, will this car equal happiness? And here's the deal, guys. You have to understand this. If you're happy for a reason, then the reason owns your happiness. So the idea for you and for me is to be above things and circumstances dictating my happiness. The idea for me is to own, to generate, to be self-generated, to generate my own joy. And then when the things are added, which they are, it happens all the time. It's fantastic. It's amazing. I'm blissed and blessed in so many ways. But you could take it all away and I would still be this. Because that shit doesn't own my happiness. And so if you're following people, ask yourself, what are they trying to get me to chase? Like, what is this? What's under this? What's their agenda? Oh, they want me to continue to hold them as separate than me. They're bigger than me. They've done this thing. They're above me and I'm below. And so as long as they're above and I'm below, then I need to chase and follow them and hire them so they can get more money. Mm-hmm. And yes, they may be serving, but I don't find that that's what's the word? An effective way to serve the people.
Okay. So what can people do to really know which decision to make? Say there is a decision to start this business.
Yes.
And there's another business of theirs, an ice cream company, like you say. Which feeling is their heart? Which one's the ego?
So this is how you do it. You try it on just like you try on a pair of pants or a coat. You say, for the next 10 days, I'm going with this idea. And then you just sit in it and you become a scientist. You notice what's happening. You know, have you ever had that thing happen where you're dating somebody and it feels like it's the end, but you're so tied up, your emotions are so tied up and you guys love each other. And like, it's like, oh, dude, I know that this needs to end, but like, I love her so much and I don't want to end this. Like, and you don't know which decision to make. What I remind people to do, and it's the same thing in business, it's the same thing all over the world, is try it on. You don't even have to tell her. You don't even have to announce it to everybody. Just try it on. Okay, I'm doing the business. I'm doing the ice cream business. I'm letting go of the real estate thing. I'm doing the ice cream thing because the ice cream thing is the thing I've been passionate about. It's the thing I talk about when no cameras are up. It's the thing that I'm in conversations with. It's the thing I'm researching. It's the thing that's sitting. It's handwritten on my soul. I was doing the entrepreneur. I was doing the real estate business because those guys on Instagram told me that that's how you make money. This thing is the thing that's on my heart, right? Steve Jobs did what was on his heart. He didn't do what everybody else said to do. A lot of other entrepreneurs, the people who Uber, you name it, anybody who's really killing it did what was on their heart. And so you try it on. You say, okay, let me see how this feels. And then you sit in it. Like, okay, because, you know, I've been in those breakups where I say, okay, I'm going to break up with him. Or I'm going to leave this business. And it's like, oh, I'm kind of sad, but I'm also relieved. And if you experience relief after you try that on, it's an indicator that that's your truth. If you try it on and you get sad and you're like, no, I'm feeling anxious and this is not it. Like, no, I'm not done yet. I got to go back in. Go back in and set a date. Set a date. So for me, when I knew this was coming, I knew that the surf school had an end date to it. I said, I'm going to try this on. I'm going to do a surf school for 6 months to a year. And I gave that a little buffer time. At the 6-month mark, I'm going to check in. Am I ready? P, are you ready? Nope, not ready. Okay, we're going to finish the year out. Okay, am I ready? Absolutely, I'm ready. Done. Surf School is done. You will not find that on Google anymore. Done. And so you have to. We all get to remember that this whole thing is a journey, and that you're going to have a million things happen, and that there, especially right now because of the internet, you can make money in a million ways if it's about money for you. The thing that I would highly suggest you chase instead of money is fulfillment, because you don't need $500 million to be fulfilled. You could be the dude that makes $400,000 a year and be balling out of control. You know, TV and Instagram and social media is trying to sort of push us all into this idea that we need to be significant. Our name needs to be in lights everywhere. But like, that's some bullshit. That's not going to happen for everybody. And that can be a trap in itself. Like, that may not be your path. So just own your path, have fun at it, and 9 out of 10 what will happen is people will come find you. You know, I'm not necessarily a household name yet, but people still keep finding me. This dude Tim reached out, and a bunch of other people. And why do they do that? Not because I'm searching for them, but because I'm living my truth. And in living your truth, people will come find you. When you're being authentic, they'll come find you. Real talk.
Definitely couldn't agree more. I definitely believe the reason why I had you on was your name was mentioned by one of my clients. And I believe when I hear somebody's name, when I hear a message from anybody on a given day, although people have, see my work and they think, oh yeah, this guy is so focused on money, wealth or whatever. But I do have a very spiritual side to me.
Yes, sir.
It's not many people really know that. But I truly believe I'm supposed to have connected with you because I heard your name. So I was like, okay, that's a sign from wherever. Yeah. But I got to reach out to you. And I believe if you do that from a state of, let's say, love or congruency, it just happens. You said yes. And that's why we're on this show today.
Yep.
And the message you're going to spread to my audience, maybe it's going to touch some points with even one person. But that could literally change their lives as a result of me taking action and so forth. It just spreads. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's beautiful, man. Let me tell you this, Tim. I said no that same day, and I have continued to probably 75 podcast interviews.
Wow.
Since you asked to today. And all of them are a no. I said yes to you because every time I see one, my assistant or they'll tell me what it is, and then I'll feel into it. And I go, nope. Not now. And I'll tell them right back and say, hey, you know what? Preston really appreciates you reaching out. And, it's a no for now because he's busier than he's ever been. And he needs to take care of himself and, set things up because he has a book coming out and all of this stuff. And they'll explain it. And we'll say, we love your work. Please keep doing what you're doing. And it's just a no for now. But when your name popped up, it was just like, yeah, let's do it. And that's back to the thing is you can't ever be off purpose. Like whoever I'm supposed to be with, out of the 8 billion people I'll be with. You and I, some would say we were destined to meet, because we both said yes. We both said yes to that higher self. Tim, Preston, say yes. We heard the voice and we listened. If you get anything out of this thing, guys, when your intuition, first thought, God voice, when that voice comes through, listen to it. Because the second thought, the third thought, the fourth thought, the fifth thought will all talk you out of the thing that was innately, instinctually there for you. Now, I'm not saying don't critically think, but sometimes we can critically think so much that we find ourselves in analysis paralysis and we make no choice. And so for me, I'm in a practice of just tuning in. Somebody says, hey, do you want to go to this thing? Somebody asked us to speak somewhere yesterday. And as I looked at the text message, tuned in, it's a no. Thank you, but no thank you. That easy. I can't miss. You can't miss and you can't fail. As long as you're breathing, you cannot fail.
So how do you find is the best way to tune in?
Just taking time to slow down. Asking powerful questions. Because Google, God, whatever you want to call it, when you ask Google a question, it's going to answer it. You say, why am I so fat? It's going to answer why you're so fat. But if you ask Google or God, why am I so powerful? Why am I so beautiful? How can I release more of my gifts and talents to the world and create abundance, not just for myself, but for my family, my community, and the whole damn world? Google, God has to answer that. And so you just ask powerful questions and wait and listen. It'll come. There's a still small voice that's always speaking. We still, to this day in science, don't understand why the heart starts. What starts the engine? Like what goes, zoom, and then there's a human. Like what starts that? What's the thing? What's the moment before? Where does that come from? We don't even know. So how dare us as humans try to think that like we can control this whole thing? We can't. Just listen. There's something bigger than you. And it's always speaking in all ways, but you just got to tap in and listen. Ask powerful questions and just sit back and listen. It'll all reveal itself.
Wow. Ask powerful questions. Okay. So here's a powerful question. What's next for you, Preston? What do you really want from this company you've built, which is to spread love out there?
Yeah. Overarching thing for me, if there's going to be a little Wayne, there has to be a little Preston. If there's going to be a Kim Kardashian, there has to be a Preston Smiles. If there's going to be a Justin Bieber, there has to be a Preston Smiles. There has to be a Tim. There has to be you out there that has that thing on your heart. And so for me, it's I'm lifting, I'm rising, I'm elevating, I'm putting myself in position where young people all over the world can look at me as an example, not to copycat, not to mimic, but to model and say, that dude's making money. And he doesn't have to cheat, lie, and steal to get it. That dude's killing it, and he's having a good-ass time. He's at Burning Man, he's skateboarding, he's surfing, he's living life. He's not trapped in a fucking cubicle or in front of his computer all day trying to make more, trying to get that dopamine hit, trying to get to the next thing. Oh, I need more. You're just a fucking addict if you're doing that. And so for me, it's about lifting the vibration, and supporting people like you and anybody else out there who understands that love is all there is, that no matter what the question is, love is the answer.
Wow. If you could jump on the phone, when was you in the gang? What age?
11 to 15.
Right, round about same as me. So if you could jump on the phone to say, let's say your 11-year-old self, what advice would you give him?
I'd say have fun, dude. Have fun, be patient. You're going to mess up anyway. They're going to judge you anyway. So just do you. Do what's handwritten on your soul. Go have some fun and mess up.
Amazing. I definitely knew this is going to be an interesting interview. It always is whenever I bring on guests, which I think, this might either go this way or the other way, but you know what? Just follow my heart.
Yes.
And that's always a motto I leave the insiders on, just follow your heart and take action. So Preston, if my insiders want to check you out and, follow your work, where should they go to?
At Preston Smiles anything, but PrestonSmiles.com, you can find all my stuff there, or you just type in at Preston Smiles on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and you will find some videos, some content, and me being super consistent. And that's the other thing for any of you guys out there who are choosing to be of service in this way, you better be consistent. Because that's one of the things that has definitely made my business thrive.
Amazing. And you've got a book out right now, right?
Yes. I have a book out called Love Louder. It's published by Simon & Schuster. You can find it at Barnes & Noble's, Amazon, anything. And I have another book coming out in December 27th called Now or Never. And you can pre-order that. It's amazing. It's with my wife, Alexi Panos, and it's pretty dope. Both of them are.
Okay, amazing. If you were to leave insiders with one final message, the general feel for this whole interview today, what would it be?
If you want something you've never had, you have to do/be something you've never done. And that is step over the ledge, guys. Go too far. We get too caught up in balance. Risk. Those who position themselves, those who risk it all, position themselves to gain it all. And so risk your comfort zone, risk meditating today, risk asking your mother or your girlfriend or somebody a powerful question, risk putting yourself out there in a way that doesn't feel comfortable to your ego, because that is where all the growth, where all the magic, and where all the abundance comes from, is stepping outside of what you know and what's safe. Step over the ledge.
Amazing. Preston, thank you so much for coming on to the Success Insider Show. It's been amazing having you on. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, follow your heart and take action, and speak to you guys soon.